My name is Hlongwane, and on this channel I provide commentary on politics as well as current affairs. I just want to open this video by asking you the question, and that is, how open are you to changing your approach, especially when you can tell that the reality of your choices is just not working? So while you sort of chew on that question in terms of understanding how open-minded you actually are to changing your approach or changing some of the ideas that you hold so dearly, it kind of leads me into the two words that have been playing in my mind quite a bit quite recently whenever I look at South Africa and sort of the direction that South Africa is moving into, particularly looking at how the majority of South Africans interact with politics. And those two words are self-destruction. Self-destruction, as we know, it is the act in which one makes decisions or takes upon actions that are harmful or self-harming to themselves. So it's self-inflicted, you doing it to yourself. And I think it's important to state as a disclaimer that as I'm speaking to you guys now, I'm someone who comes from being completely clueless to sort of where I am now, where I would like to believe that I am growing quite a lot in terms of my understanding of politics and everything that surrounds politics. I still have a long way to go. I still regard myself as an infant, really, even though I'm able to come onto the channel and give my commentary on a lot of issues and topics. But I am still growing. I'm still it's early days for me. And the reason for this is because I was first of all open-minded to challenging some of the narrative that was being I was presented with. As clueless as I was willing to challenge the narrative. I was willing to tap into my curiosity and just to ask questions, I guess, particularly when we had the challenging reality of severe load shedding. And this is as early back as 2-3 years ago, when load shedding became severe, and it was really taking a huge knock and negatively impacting my day-to-day. And I began to challenge the narrative, but it started off with just having the will. And pretty early on, I was able to recognize three curveballs, which it's three curveballs because there is a philosopher by the name of Plato that was able to define what are the three main drivers of humans. So by sort of describing these three main drivers that motivate how we behave and how we act, many people that have sort of come after the philosophers of Plato have interpreted the three main drivers as somewhat of a way to understand why evil exists. So they say, okay, if man is meant or man is driven by A, B, C, they were also able to, the iterations that came after that, were able to link the very same drivers as a way to understand why people do certain actions, especially actions which are evil. And these are three curveballs which are very relevant, especially in politics and how we understand politics. And the particular framing that Plato uses is that these are three classes of men: lovers of wisdom, lovers of honor, and lovers of gain. So the first one is lovers of wisdom. This is our natural instinct to want to attain knowledge, to understand things better, to be interested in information like we are interested in the news. But if you flip that on its evil head, the love for wisdom, the curiosity that we all have as sort of a natural instinct, can also be used as a vehicle or as a tool to breed propaganda and misguided information, misleading information. Then you get the love of honor, which again is our natural instinctive sort of behavior to be recognized, to get recognition, right? To be seen, to be noticed, and so forth. Again, if you flip that on its evil head, what this can do is it can breed about power-hungry people amongst us as a society, people who are driven by power, but not for good gains, power to destroy, power to impact our lives negatively, right? It starts off with what we all have as a natural instinct, but it can be flipped on its evil head, and it can destroy. Lastly, we have the love for gain, which is lovers of gain, which is the love for gain is another driver that humans have. We want success, we want achievements, we want all of these things. We want to get something back from our effort and. So if you flip this on its evil head, this can bring about greed and corruption. As we stand today in South Africa, the love for gain has been polluted or corrupted to lead to greed, to corruption, to siphoning of money, and basically the corrupt state that we know South Africa to be today. And the effects of that are just so bad: state capture, the endless SIU reports, and so forth. And I think it's important that I state this, because whenever we pursue politics, it's important that we are aware of these three drivers, that we are aware of what motivates people to behave the way that they behave. Because and as much as these drivers can be good, we all have them, but they can easily be manipulated. And it becomes even more important for us to be critical about the ideas and the ideologies that we support, the people that we support, just to make sure that we are not in line to be either manipulated or to become collateral damage. So there are three things that I believe we as the majority in South Africa are doing that I look at and I think this is self-destruction. And the first one is this notion that in politics we should support people who look like us. I would completely disagree with that notion. I think we should support, or rather what we should follow, or what is more important, is ideology as well as policy. Because beyond sort of this parading, emotional, feel-good show that our politics has become, where you get a lot of the populace grandstanding and getting all of the cheers, knowing exactly how to press the buttons by bringing in all of these celebrities to perform at the rallies and when all of that is said and done, and the very same politicians have to then make decisions in terms of how they plan their budgets, what they prioritize, what they don't prioritize. When those decisions are at play, it is not about skin color, it is not about who looks like who. In that moment, it is back to ideology. It is ideology that then informs those decisions. A very clear example, very relevant example, is this issue of VAT. The leading party, or the ruling party that has the highest majority, which is the African National Congress, is pushing the idea that they want to increase VAT. So it's no longer about who looks like who in that scenario. What has become clear now is that the African National Congress does not believe in policies that require financial efficiency, good governance, clean governance. In fact, the record of the African National Congress suggests that the policy and the ideology that inform the party have nothing to do with how you and I look. It is about them. It is about their guiding policies, about their principles. It's about the National Democratic Revolution, and not about who looks like who. The other is the confusion in terms of which direction life is moving on or moving towards. Life is moving forward, not backward. I think that this is self-destructive because we tend to almost neglect the reality that it is decisions that we make today that have a much more stronger impact in terms of how the future looks, how tomorrow looks. And when we talk about the future, we don't just talk about our offspring and our grandkids one day. That also means the near future, or the closer, more short-term future for you and I. We are sitting in these positions. We are in many fields. Maybe one day you want to be a housewife and leave your job completely. But the decisions that you take today can aid that being a possibility. So it's another self-destructive thing that we tend to do, where it's almost like the only thing that matters is what happened before and not what is happening today. The last point in terms of how I think we are self-destructive is now taking it to the black, middle-class, successful, the rich aunts, rich uncle sort of image, right? The educated, the corporate people and all of that. And I would regard myself as that person. I would be in that pool as well, because I'm also black, I'm educated, I'm also in corporate. And I look at this particular group and I think we are letting down those who come after us. And that is self-destructive, in my opinion. The way in which we are letting down those who come after us is not necessarily speaking to people who are younger than us, who are, not in that sense, but broadly, people who come after us in terms of life experiences, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of access, and all of these things. Because think about it, for a lot of us, now I'm talking to black, middle class, corporate, successful, mostly young, mid-age, and all of that. For many of us, getting a degree, is you the first to do it in your family. You're the first to achieve that in your family. To go on a trip overseas, you are the first in your entire family to achieve that. To live in a certain area, to enjoy a certain lifestyle, to enjoy certain gains, and like, things have improved for many of us, right? We are the first to experience those things. Therefore, if we do not lead the charge, if we do not take it more seriously in terms of supporting governance that is responsible, government that is clean, good, more responsible, that is outcome focused, and not all this left sort of leaning government that we see today, we're letting down those who come after us. Because take, for instance, someone who is coming from a rural area, right? Rural communities, I'm mostly familiar with rural areas from KZN because a lot of my family members are there. Take someone who stays there. They probably don't have capacity to look at a manifesto document or whatever, policy document of a political party. They probably don't have internet access or proper connectivity to be able to watch the video that I'm doing now, for example, or to watch a long form podcast interview where this guy explains his idea and. So what they tend to do is that they either do what other people are doing, or they just repeat what they've been doing over and over again, or some of them just don't participate completely in elections. They don't do anything of that. They just move on with their lives. And if you take capacity of people who live in the rural communities, they are dealing with serious challenges that you and I don't have to face. One, running water, still very much it's a scarce issue, right? Not just clean water to consume, but having water connected to your house where, a running tap where you just turn on, geyser connected, all of that. For many of them, that is still far-fetched. It's not even a reality for them. Transportation, having to move from point A to B. It's unbelievable how some of these places are so out of the main city centers or the main urban areas. People have to travel for long distances. Some of them work jobs that require them to start really early and come back home really late at night, right? They've got issues of electricity, the areas are not well lit, and so it goes. So these are people who just do not have the capacity that we have. We, on the other hand, have access to fiber connectivity. We've got fast, better, improved internet access. We've got access to all of these platforms. We've got ebooks and audiobooks, and so it goes. We've got all of this information. So if we do not then take responsibility for those who come after us, to say, okay, we want to lead the charge in terms of understanding politics better, approaching politics better, because I always say that word of mouth is probably the best and most powerful way to get information out there. If I meet someone and someone says, I stand on everything, that place is the best, I will probably take that into consideration when I need to make the decision. When we go back home to our families and we arrive in those areas and we still say to them, African National Congress, when they are living in a much more different situation, which has been worsened because of the very same policies, because a lot of these people, one, are unemployed and they are in desperate need of employment. I know this, right, as a fact, because I know people who live in rural communities. You coming from your beautiful area, you established area and all of that, you go to visit at home, and then you're speaking the same message of African National Congress. Why aren't you becoming the model of a different approach? Why aren't you becoming a model of that open-mindedness that is important? Why aren't you becoming a model of someone who is serious about seeing a better future for South Africa, as opposed to basically repeating the same cycle over and over again? And I think that is just absolutely important to state, that we are letting people who are coming after us down, because in as much as we are feeling it, we're getting taxed a lot, we're not getting services, yet we're getting taxed. It is 10 times worse for someone who is in a rural area to, 1, be told about a VAT increase, 2, to have to deal with load shedding, 3, to have to worry about crime, and so it goes. So all of these things that for some of us are not such a problem because we either live in secure communities, for someone who's in the rural communities, it is 10 times worse. So it is self-destruction that we are not taking responsibility, that we are not open-minded to challenging the political landscape in South Africa, so that we get the best out of politics. Because without a doubt, when we change and when we do better, and like I said, through word of mouth, we go home and we tell them that, hey, you know what, where we are, it's better. The economy is looking good. There's opportunities. it becomes a ripple effect. The next election, they will either vote differently because they hear us, they see us on Facebook. They will be able to say, okay, cool, there's improvement, things are moving. But it's not going to happen if we just want to maintain and say, no, we don't want to change our perspective. We're holding on to how we see things, despite the fact that the reality and the outcome is not looking good. Before you go, please like and share this video if you found it to be interesting or helpful. I would also appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Otherwise, I'll see you again when I drop my next video.